Hey everyone, I'm Coach Wolverine, the owner and the creator of the Wolverine Lifestyle, and the a co-host to the channel, A Conversation Over Drinks. Now today, I want to share with you a story in along the lines of when healthy coping habits, mechanisms, end up becoming unhealthy attachments. For me, this was the health and fitness industry, through and through. So just to give you a little bit of a background, I used to be very overweight. Even though I was in all of the sports growing up, I ate very poorly. Right up until about the age of 15 is when I really started to take its toll. But I was bullied very bad, to the point where I heavily contemplated taking myself from this world. Now, that's a story for a different video. Basically, in addition to that, growing up, I grew up with this feeling that I just didn't belong. It didn't matter how many friends I had. It didn't matter the intenseness or the values of the friendships or how close I was at the time with my family members or what kind of relationship I was in. I always just felt like I didn't belong. But when I discovered the gym, it felt like home. And the gym that I joined at the time was also filled with a lot of people who they didn't feel like they belonged. And so it was like all of us didn't belong together. But so moving forward, up until about I think it was 2016, I actually used to own a gym, and it was a gym that was catered to personal training. Then we grew and we ended up becoming a powerlifting and strongman gym. And in that time, or throughout the entire process, I actually got into competing in powerlifting, and I absolutely loved it so much, because everyone, even if you were competing against them in the same weight class, everyone just wanted to see you succeed, right? You would have your rivals on the edge of the platform cheering you on, wanting to see you succeed with your lifts. And so I fell in love with the sport. I really did. And life continued on with me involved. I was Dylan the powerlifter. And it was great. But this was what wasn't great. I used strength training as an excuse to eat more food than necessary and justify to myself why I was eating more food than necessary, because I needed the calories for recovering and getting strong. And it would be different if they were healthy calories, but I was reverting back to old habits of eating garbage and just to get the calories in. And it's like, oh, I'll out-train it. So I ended up getting myself very unhealthy throughout the process, trying to get as big and strong as I could. At the same time, I created this unhealthy attachment to the identity of being a powerlifter. Now, this is why it was an unhealthy attachment. The night before New Year's Eve 2017, I was at work. I slipped on a patch of ice, and it felt like somebody had taken a baseball bat to my knee. I go to the hospital to find out that I had a full quad tear. Basically, my leg had gotten so swollen that the plastic surgeon told me that they had to cut me open just to see if it was actually torn, because the x-rays and all of the other scanning, whatever it is that they did, I was in the hospital for a very long time for them to do this, but whatever it was they did, they could not actually get a clear picture as to whether or not my quad was torn or anything like that. So when they cut me open, Seen that. It was a full clean tear. Tendon right off the bone. Fixed me up. The surgeon had told me that I have to be very careful because they would only be able to repair it one more time. And if it was injured any further than that, I would completely lose the integrity of my quad. So, this was a very long recovery process. Like, to go from injured to fully, absolutely functional, where you could not tell there was an injury there anymore, was almost a year. And the first 2 months of it, I was bedridden. I was not able to drive. I wasn't able to go to the bathroom to take a shit. Like, to try, I had a full leg cast that weighed about 30 pounds, and I had to try and prop it up so it would sit on the bathtub while I was sitting on the toilet. Like, it was not a fun experience, and I don't wish it upon anybody. Showering, I had to try and get my leg balanced outside of the shower while I had it tied up with a garbage bag, and trying to use the shower head to clean myself off without falling and hurting myself. But of course I was in pain because anytime I activated my hip flexor, my quad would want to activate, so it always sucks. But I veering off here. So the reason why this was an unhealthy attachment, all right, here's the meat and potatoes of the message. Because I created my identity around being a power lifter, when I injured myself, I was told that, or I was recommended that to not compete again. Because the reason why I injured myself was because I was not taking care of myself. My muscles were wound so tight because I wasn't stretching or mobilizing nearly enough. That is why the tear was so extreme. Like, it wasn't just a slight little tear. Like, the entire quad muscle was torn right off. So, when sitting in recovery, it got to the point where I was falling down a very dark hole, knowing that I wouldn't compete again, and realizing that the entire identity I created around being Dylan the powerlifter was gone. I did not know who I was going to be anymore. So as I was falling down this hole, I was getting mad at silly things like, why did I paint the walls this color? Getting mad at things like, why were certain things named the way they were? Like, it really doesn't matter. The fact of the matter was that I no longer knew who I was. And it was a pretty dark place to go. One of the few times in my life that I had been that low before, because I didn't want anything more than to get back into the gym, because I love fitness. I love the gym. I love pushing the body and seeing how far we can go, seeing what the body is capable of, seeing what we can overcome. But this was different, because this was also not just a physical injury I had to come back from. This was also a mental thing, because I couldn't get under a squat bar again. I was terrified of getting under a squat bar because all I could think about was my knee and thinking about my quad tearing again. So even after the year-long recovery of being able to actually squat properly again under a bar, it took me almost another year after that to feel confident to just get under a bar with weight on it. And so this entire identity, so at the time I would have been, my late 20s, I'm not doing the math right now. I had already spent over a decade of my life in the gym, creating this identity for myself around being in the health and fitness. Like, that was me. I was the guy that was in the gym. On a Friday night, I was in the gym. Now, this is what I learned out of this experience. Throughout conversing with a lot more people in the health and fitness industry, whether they compete or whether they just go to the gym, We all have stuff we're dealing with. All of us. We all have mental or emotional stuff that we deal with, and we go to the gym to cope with these emotions. And when we're unable to cope with these emotions, we want to try and attach to something to give us a sense of greater purpose. So we start getting a sense of fulfillment. But the problem is that when we go to the gym, right, we're going there rooted in an insecurity, right? Nobody goes to the gym because they're like, golly geez, I love myself, so I'm just gonna go and sweat my ass off and restrict my calories or only eat with, no, we don't do this, okay? All of us go to the gym because we either want to get bigger, we want to get smaller, or the doctor told us to go because we have a health condition that we need to reverse by going to the gym to get healthy. Now, outside of that, there could be some other reasons that, aren't coming to my brain right now, but there is always a reason underlining why we go. And it's, I have yet to meet somebody that said that they started going to the gym because they're like, oh, I just wanted to take care of myself. No, I love myself. I'm happy with my life. I just wanted to take it to the next level. I've never met anyone like that. There's always been some sort of insecure reasoning behind that. So we think that if we look good on the outside, we're going to feel good on the inside. For some insecurities, for some mental, for some emotional, absolutely. Looking good on the outside might help assist getting to that state of feeling good on the inside. But a lot of it, for those of us like myself that deal with feelings of inadequacy, that deal with feelings of not being good enough ever for anyone, for feelings or struggling with feelings of abandonment, the gym was just a mask. The gym was creating an attachment to something to feel like I belonged there because I wasn't feeling fulfilled in any other aspect of life. And then so when that injury happened and that was ripped from me, my identity was gone. So the point I'm making here is when coping mechanisms like going to the gym starts becoming an attachment for us, we have to look inside and figure out the why behind that. What is it that we actually have to explore above and beyond just changing our health? Whether or not it's our appearance on the outside, whether or not it's how we're functioning on the inside. It's important for us to remember that just because we are grinding out our frustrations in the gym, we can't ignore the stuff that's going on up here because it will just get worse. And then, heaven forbid, that coping mechanism gets taken from you. You lose yourself. I lost myself. After that injury, there was a couple years I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was basically just coasting. Not saying that I was some amazing power lifter or anything like that. I loved the sport, and that's where I felt like I belonged. And the camaraderie that came with it, with your teammates that were lifting on the platform beside you. So there is a danger in using coping mechanisms or the habits as a crutch without actually getting to the underlying things that are stealing our peace. And it is absolutely, crucially important to figure out what is the root cause of stealing our peace. Because the unfortunate reality that I'm seeing in society today is there is a lot of gym push. A lot of it. Grind it out, do better, go heavy, go whatever it is that is trying to talk people up that they need to be a certain way in the gym. And it ends up turning badly for them, just like it did for myself. At no point in time am I shitting on the gym. I still love the gym. I still encourage people to go to the gym. I think it's one of the best things to teach us emotional resiliency, to push ourselves to see what we're really capable of and what we're made out of. All I'm saying is it's important to explore what is actually going on in here and in here as well. Use these healthy habits as an outlet, but we still have to figure out and explore the parts that are stealing our peace. Otherwise, just like me, you will end up potentially, I'm not wishing this on anybody, of course, but you will risk losing yourself and your identity if whatever that habit that you are obsessing of, just like I obsessed over, gets taken away from you. That's it for today, guys. Please like, share, subscribe. Man, that becomes a tongue twister almost every time. Doesn't get easier. Like, share, subscribe on whatever platform it is that you are consuming this content on, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Message me for any inquiries, or if you simply want to chat, or if you understand what I went through, because it happens a lot more often than we realize. Take care, everyone.